Hey everyone, True here, and today we are going to take a look at the new Water Alice. She will be another addition in the ongoing war between the sleep and the burn meta, aiding sleep once more after two strong burn units have been released, but overall she is more of an overdrive and support unit. Her speed is low at 148, but once she gets the turn, there is a lot that she can do. Let's jump right over to the active skills. The first one is Swift Strike Plus, and the plus here stands for an additional spirit that she gains over the usual Swift Strike. So it produces 2 spirit, 75% damage to one enemy, and it costs 70 time units when she isn't quickened. That's a nice, though very basic skill, nothing to write home about. Moving on to the next skill, which is Call Morphie, and here it gets much more interesting. This skill basically exchanges the targeted ally with Morphie if there are already 4 allies on the battlefield, and it is only usable if there is at least one other ally on the battlefield. And of course, Morphie cannot be there can only be one Morphie at a time, whether that is on the battlefield or in allied reinforcements. This skill becomes locked once Alice is in Starlight champion form, which we will hear more about once we go to Morphie's skill set. In general, this skill costs 0 spirit and only 50 time units. Given Morphie's strong skill set, it is a bit of a shame that it can become locked rather quickly and permanently locked at that. But for now, moving on to Alice's third skill, Magical Star Shower, and it is an absolutely insane attack all skill, I have to say. It costs 3 spirit and 160 time units, which of course can be lower with a quicken, but what it does is pretty crazy. Again, we have seen something similar with Honochi already. This time we have 300% damage to all enemies, and this attack actually ignores counter stance, stealth status, revenge passive skills, skin passive skills. So pretty much everything except armor, and it is only usable if the user's party has 6 or more spirit, but given the rest of the skill set, especially around the bunny as well, the Morphie, it's pretty easy to see that we will see this skill, and probably in an even stronger form once she unlocks champion's form and gets the turn. And if that wasn't enough already, of course we are getting another instant skill, another 1 time unit skill. It costs only 1 spirit, and it is not going to be time locked. Despite that, it cannot be easily abused, of course, because it is called Magical Drain, and it is a desperate skill, so it can only be used if Alice has under 50% of HP, or rather, to be more exact, if she has exactly 50% HP or less. This attack deals 600% damage to one enemy, and the user recovers 100% of HP, so Alice will be fully healed yet again. On top of that, this attack also ignores damage reduction effects, so kind of complementary with her attack all skill that deals a bit less damage but doesn't ignore damage reduction. So this one is single target but hits extremely hard, especially in champion's form. Also important to note here is, of course, that if she has enough spirit, she could easily use both the Magical Drain and the Magical Star Shower within an instance. Looking at her passive skills now, we see the classical Hold Ground Plus. If this unit would be defeated, it instead survives with 1 HP and cannot be defeated until its next turn. This basically means if she isn't sleeping at that turn, she should have a chance to recover her HP with the Magical Drain if there is at least 1 spirit available, or possibly call Morphie, for example. The other skill is really strong here. It is called the Magical Knockout, and enemies hit by this unit's attacks have a 30% chance of falling asleep for 200 time units. This means that with the skill as the magical star shower, there's an over 70% chance that at least one enemy falls asleep. Of course, this only works on units that haven't slept yet. This is not a forced sleep effect. That would certainly be even more overpowered. But don't overlook the last sentence here, which might be just as important. This unit's attacks will not wake sleeping enemies. So while she doesn't really have a specific damage dealing skill that focuses on sleeping units, she can basically attack regardless all the units that are actually asleep and possibly put them on hold ground plus, for example, so they lose that without waking them up. This, of course, again, especially important with the magical star shower skill, which attacks all enemies. So even if there are some that are already asleep, they will not wake up from her attacks. This passive skill also makes the Swift Strike Plus just a bit better because, of course, with that one single hit, there's also a chance for the enemy to fall asleep of 30%. But now moving on to Morphie, and we will actually start with his passive skills because it makes more sense that way, because there is this one Meet Morphie passive effect that triggers on entry. He basically enrages all your allies on the battlefield, so they have their attack increased by 50% until the end of their next turn, and allies gain 3 spirits, so it's also a spirit entry, and it is also a light speed entry because this unit will immediately get the turn. He does have 1000 speed as well, but it doesn't really matter because he has an instant turn anyways. On top of that, he is also stun immune, which can help him, but it can also be a slight nerf, as you will see when we move on to the active skills. The only skill that he can use more than once is his first one, and that is Purify Heal. Costs 0 spirit, 70 time units, and it actually targets 2. It removes negative status effects like sleep, burn, or poison from 2 allies and heals them each for HP equal to 150% of the user's attack. One important point to note here, I think, is that his HP and attack will not be the same as Water Alice. He will be a weaker version, most likely. Regardless, that's a very good skill already. But moving on to the next one, this one might be something that you recall already, but it is from a different, very, very strong unit. Here we see the Morphie Force Field, which costs 0 spirit as well. 100 time units, which is good. The longer the better in this case, because until the end of the user's next turn, Morphie will become a guardian and cannot be defeated. Yet again, this is just like Storm Michaela, but this is part of the reason why I mentioned before that the stun immunity here might actually hurt him. Storm Michaela, while she is a guardian, can be stunned, and that actually hurts the enemy team. In this case, it is not a possibility. Also, this skill is only usable once each time this unit is conjured. But come on, yet again, another undefeatable guardian for a certain time span. Definitely something to look out for, especially because he has that light speed entry. So similar to Storm Michaela, he should be able to use Morphie Force Field quite reliably straight away, except if he prioritizes the Starlight Sacrifice, which is his last skill. And you could probably fill a whole chapter of a book with the skill description of this skill. It really does a lot, but let me break it down. The skill gives 3 spirit and happens in an instant. Of course, as the title already says, it is a sacrifice, so the bunny will sacrifice itself. Morphie will be gone, but Alice will be much, much stronger. One important thing to note here as well is that it is only usable when Water Alice has already lost the Hold Ground Plus status. Which is good because this skill also resets the Hold Ground Plus status effect, so it can trigger yet again, giving her a second Hold Ground Plus. That said, that is all she will be getting. There will be no other way to reset her Hold Ground Plus. Why is that? Because she will enter the Starlight Champion form. What that means is that she will, besides having her Hold Ground Plus reset, she will also be purified, she will be healed for 100% of her max HP, she will be quickened by 20%, and she will also immediately get the next turn by having her time units reduced to 0. That is why I previously alluded to her probably being able to use that big attack all skill straight away when entering the Starlight Champion form. Why is that important? Because she will also basically be permanently enraged. So her attack will be increased by 50%, which means her attack all skill actually deals 450% damage to each enemy while still keeping the 30% chance to sleep them. And also her magical drain actually will deal 900% damage and also ignore damage reduction effects. So if that is a skill that doesn't put a unit to 1 HP at least, I don't know which unit can. Now, on top of all that, Alice will heal 15% of her max HP on every ally and enemy turn, which means she will be basically permanently healing, but she will need it because the Hold Ground Plus, of course, will be gone at some point, and then there is no Hold Ground, no Hold Ground Plus, no Endure effect that can possibly save her, so she will have to try to have high enough HP to not be taken out. Of course, someone like Storm Jean with a Survivor's Judgment could easily take care of her, especially with the elemental advantage, but regardless, that is going too far into the analysis already. One more thing that also happens is that she has a 50% chance to gain 1 spirit after every ally or enemy turn, so that also means basically half spirit production every turn and 15% heal every turn. So basically an absolute machine once that Starlight Champion form is unlocked. Bit of a drawback here, and that might sound counterintuitive at first, but she also becomes immovable. She will not be able to go back to the reinforcements, and that is actually a bit of a nerf, I think. Yes, the Starlight Champion form is extremely strong, but basically there's no means for her to get back to her normal form after that. The way I read her skill descriptions, I think once she unlocks the Starlight Champion form, she will permanently keep it and only death will end it. Important to point out here again is that once she unlocks that Starlight Champion form, she will not be able to call Morphie anymore, and because it is a Starlight Sacrifice skill, that means she will be on her own. And someone like Storm Michaela or Earthray will not be able to send her back to reinforcements either. Of course, she's also immune to banish skills or water callants, imposter skill, stuff like that, pushbacks, everything. So all in all, another really strong unit with a huge power spike once she unlocks that Starlight Champion form. Of course, great support as well with spirit production, with Morphie being an indestructible guard potentially and purify healing to allies. And at the same time, her long-term survivability is a bit in question. I do have a bit of a concern about her skill set. I will talk more about that in my extensive review video, which will also include an AI analysis, which could be changing how you look at this unit because her hate is also very, very high. In any case, I would recommend waiting to pull for her until the fountain hits, so you will get some fountain rewards from pulling. And until then, I should already be able to show you some high-level arena footage of her performance as well. Thanks to Lens.js and Saturn for the materials used in this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to become a true carrot, and as always, thanks for watching.